is up, YouTube? It's RSMario, aka the Loot Box Hero, bringing you another video. Alright, so I'm going to do something I don't do normally, which is a Halloween video. Now, I haven't done a Halloween special in years. I think the last one was like Creepy Pokemon, which, in hindsight to recent events, I probably should do another one like that. You know what? That might be another video. You might get 2 Halloween specials this year. So, but yeah, you know, so I wanted to do a kind of a Halloween video. So I was like, you know, one thing that I do, you know what I'm saying, over Halloween, because there's not a lot of kids in my neighborhood, I watch anime. So I was like, you know what, top 13 animes to watch over Halloween weekend. I dig it. Let's go. Sato Matsuzuka is your average teenage girl, living life until she finds a young girl abandoned in an alley named Shoko. She takes the girl into her home, known as her castle, to defend her from the cold world, and in doing so, becomes a monster. That's basically Happy Sugar Life. Alright, Happy Sugar Life is a show that takes cute moe characters and tells a story about broken people doing terrible things to other broken people. And it is probably one of the best watches over Halloween, to be honest. I started off hot with this one. I probably should have left this one for the end, but I wanted to mix up good shows and kind of terrible shows as well. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you just want to laugh. You don't always want to be terrified. But Happy Sugar Life will definitely do the latter for you. Speaking of funny, hilarious horror shows, we have the Junji Ito collection. So the Junji Ito collection is basically a collection of some of the short stories of Junji Ito animated, which I guess is a strong word for this show because some of the animation is kind of garbo, but it is what it is though. And that's part of the charm of this show. Like, some of the stuff is scary because it is Junji Ito and the subject, you know, material is pretty scary. But when you see it animated like this, bruh, it becomes hilarious, bro. And I think this is the perfect watch over Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Wow. I mean, if that's the way you roll, you can do it that way. But it's a perfect watch over Halloween weekend because it has a mixture of hilarity and fear. All right? Watch it with your friends. Get yourself some beer, some candy, or what have you, and just have yourself a good time. So, Zom 100. Alright, so this one is a perfect watch for Halloween, which is why I'm going to be watching this for Halloween, because I never finished the show. You know what I'm saying? I got halfway through the show, and then I kind of like, you know, I kind of gave up after like the 30th hiatus. This show had so many weird breaks and stuff because of the production issues that I kind of dropped off the show. It's not a bad show. It's just that I kind of hate the start and stop nature. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a perfect watch for Halloween though, so far. It does have a mixture of like violence and horror, but it also has a lot of humor to it. And I mean, it's definitely funny when you see the blood is basically like neon colored fluids, you know. But yeah, it's definitely a pretty good watch, especially when you get to like episode like 3-4 where there's a crazy zombie that you don't expect from like regular zombies, because you know you expect the zombie is more humanoid. They got a treat for you in this one. All right, I'm just gonna be honest with you. But the show can also get pretty dark as well. You know what I'm saying, with some pretty dark themes about, like, you know, what happens when the world falls apart. You know, or the fact that the main character was nearly worked to death before the zombie apocalypse. He was worked so hard that once the zombie apocalypse happened, the main thing he could think about is the fact that he didn't have to go to work anymore. And you think your job is bad. So Akira follows Kaneda, leader of a motorcycle gang in post-apocalyptic Japan, while he tries to save his friend Tetsuo from government experiments. Which, I mean, if you've seen Akira, you already know what's going on here, you know. And this is exactly why it's perfect to watch over Halloween, because, you know, Akira is like some of the best like anime body horror like ever. Okay, all right, and of course you also have some of the, you know, post-apocalyptic scenery that has been taken and put into all kinds of movies and anime and manga and video games over the decades. Akira is probably one of the most influential animes ever, and it makes it a really good watch over the Halloween weekend.
Now take it!
All right, so we go from peak to garbage. Well, not exactly garbage. It can be kind of interesting, and that is Housing Complex C. So Housing Complex C is a horror anime. Well, it's one of the more slow kind of plotting types, or at least as slow as you can be when you only got 4 episodes. So it's technically an OVA, but it basically follows the people who live in Housing Complex C. All right, and they move in there, and there's some old people, and of course there's a little girl. And a lot of weird stuff starts happening around this little girl. And some people suspect that that's the little girl, that's the issue. Other people believe that they have angered God in some way. And so basically you follow this group of people while they try to figure out what's happening and why people are dying in really weird ways in this particular apartment building. All right. And the funniest thing is the interactions between the old people and the migrants. Because there's a lot of migrant workers and like immigrants in this apartment building. Bruh, I'm like, bro, like, bruh, this jet is like Springfield, Ohio meets like Eldritch Horror. It's hilarious. So speaking of Eldritch Horror and OVAs, you can't really talk about OVAs without talking about the OG, and that is Blood the Last Vampire. Blood the Last Vampire was the thing that initially got me into vampire stuff a long time ago, before I got sick of vampires, and now I don't watch any of that stuff, you know. But Blood the Last Vampire follows a young girl who basically is assigned by the government to fight vampires. And of course, you know, surprise, surprise, she turns out to be a vampire. That's why this little schoolgirl can do freaking ninja moves on these vampires that literally feast upon people. And these aren't like your, oh, look, I'm a rinky-dink, you know, F-boy vampire. Like, no, that's not what this is. These are freaking monsters, okay? Eldritch horror vampires. They're not just, oh, I'm gonna woo the girl and then I'm gonna bite her on the neck. No, they feasting on souls, okay? They eating people out here. All right, they're full-blown monsters. Yeah, watch this day for Halloween, bruh.
Think of a big black man chasing you! Well, he's not racist.
So we go from horror back to horror comedy. You can't talk horror comedy without talking Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is the best localization of all time. I know all the people hate localizations, but this is the one thing that makes me kind of like localizations, at least back in the day anyway, and that is Ghost Stories, bro. Ghost Stories, if you watch the Japanese version, is your typical, like, kids investigate paranormal activity story, right? It's run-of-the-mill, it's fine, it's not offensive, it's not bad, it's just kind of mid. But once you mix in a bunch of voice actors that don't care, you get comedy gold.
Oh, perfect. It's in Japanese. Jingchao no ning tao. Wait, that's Chinese. Luckily, I can read barricade.
Kaya!
You. What do you want?
Thanks a lot, man.
Huh? I think she's right. You are retarded.
I'm all alone, forgotten, like a black family in Bush America.
Hey, put the donuts down! Drop the Krispy Kreme, Serpico! We need your help
You
here!
my house look like my father and my brother after 9 months or something?
Yeah, boogity-diggity-diggity-diggity-diggity-diggity-diggity!
The best localization of all time. And watch it for Halloween. It's hilarious. Get your friends together. Make sure you find at least one woke friend to make them as uncomfortable as possible watching ghost stories. Aijin, bro. So speaking of old school anime, this was the first anime video I ever made that blew up, and it was the review on Aijin. Alright, Aijin is one of my favorite anime, mainly because one, it introduced me to Polygon Studios, which is one of my favorite studios nowadays, and two, it also kind of introduced me to one of the greatest anime villains, one of the most underappreciated anime villains of all time, in Saito.
おはよう。サボれ！弾が。惜しい。もう少しだったね。渦だ。浅い。
Saito, bro, if I ever got old and went on a villain arc for whatever reason, it's gonna be like that. All right, I'm gonna be like Saito, cuz okay, this man was a whole beast, and he was cool while he was doing it. All right, and of course, the plot of Aijin is basically that there are these creatures known as Aijin, all right, that you basically, you know, attach themselves to humans and make them like unkillable, you know, beings. They can't die, you know. Now, of course, this means that there's a whole lot of body horror and a whole lot of people getting stabbed, but they don't really die because, again, they're Aijins. But the humans, though, yeah, the humans, they get, bro, they get freaking wrecked. You know what I'm saying? Check out Aijin. I think it's still on Netflix because this was around the early era of like CG anime on Netflix. This is when Netflix and Polygon first started to work together. It's 2 seasons, so it's a little bit long, but you know, it's alright. You can watch 2 seasons worth of show. Come on now. Juni Taisen. No, not Jujutsu Taisen. Juni Taisen. Okay. So Juni Taisen is basically like you take like a shonen battle anime and you mix it with like a death game, something like Mirai Nikki, and you smash them together and you've got Juni Taisen. All right, sprinkle on some Zodiac, you know what I'm saying, stuff in there, and you've got Juni Taisen. Basically, take a bunch of different warriors that are named after the different Zodiac animals, and you put them in an abandoned city in a death game where they have to kill each other to get magical, well, not magical, but poison crystals that are in their body. Before the crystals break down, release the poison and they die. So, yeah, alright, there's a lot of violence in this show, okay? Okay, a whole lot, but there's nothing about this show that is more terrifying than the prospect of being stalked and hunted by a 6-foot-tall, muscular, homoerotic bunny necromancer that wants to murder you and use your body for his will. It's an interesting watch for Halloween, though. Speaking of interesting watches, King's Game the Animation. Bro, King's Game the Animation is probably the best death game of all time as far as anime go. Alright? King's Game is supposed to be scary, but it is unintentionally hilarious. To the point where I'm almost thinking, like, did they really mean this to be this stupid? I'm sorry. Like, Just look at this. Bro, the way that man dies is hilarious. I'm sorry. Like the setup for it, and then when it happens, it's like, bruh, this was supposed to be terrifying. No. Alright, get some friends together, put this sucker on, and laugh. Laugh for Halloween, bro. So, speaking of insane, we go to one of the classic thriller anime, or psychological anime, Perfect Blue. It follows a young girl who is a Japanese idol, or she's part of a Japanese idol group, and the pressures of being in that group and how it can drive you psychologically to the edge, you know. And of course, I think you've probably seen this if you're an old school anime fan, but if you haven't, you really do need to watch it though. I mean, Perfect Blue is so good that it's actually influenced several movies and television shows in the West. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying? You gotta check out Perfect Blue.
お母さん、ありがとう。喋った。
So the last show on this list is probably one of the funnier shows on this list, Japan Sinks. So Japan Sinks 2020 is basically a pre-apocalyptic horror show about Japan. Well, I wouldn't say it's kind of horror, but it's kind of not, because the apocalypse itself is kind of horror, because, you know, it's the end. You know what I'm saying? The place that you've been living on your entire life is about to get claimed by the ocean. So I guess it is kind of horror, but it's more of a disaster flick, you know what I'm saying? About, you know, Japan and being destroyed by nature. And it has your apocalyptic disaster flick stuff in it. It has people trying to survive. It has people turning on each other. There is a barge of racist Japanese people in this show. There is probably the most insane killing spree I've ever seen. Japan Sinks is goated. All right, it's one of those shows that you have to watch if you are a hardcore anime fan. Okay, all right, and of course it does have a poignant message about like globalism and immigration and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you can take that or leave it. I watched this show just for the mere spectacle of the insanity that takes place. And it's got Pewdiepie. Freaking Pewdiepie comes down from the sky to save a bunch of Japanese people from the apocalypse. You can't get much better than that, bro. Alright, so that's about it for this. So, I wanted to do a Halloween special. I wanted to do an anime video, so I decided to smash them together. I probably will be doing another one of these. Not as specifically an anime video, but talking about the other horror story, which is the Pokemon leaks. So, that's about it. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, people, keep it real.